Okay guys, you're going to go into the ME2 folder for materials for class, and you're going to go under healing tool practice. You want to click on the picture called blemish cleanup and go ahead and open that up. All right, before you do anything else, I need you to save this picture. So go ahead and do File, Save As, and you can keep it as blemish cleanup, but put your name at the end of it, and then make sure you save it in the student folder. Oh, sorry, ME2 in our class folder. This will make sure that you don't save over my original picture. All right, first thing I want you to do is to duplicate this layer. So you're gonna wanna right click on background and you wanna click duplicate layer. You can keep it called background copy, that's fine. And there's a couple reasons that you wanna duplicate the layer. So if you duplicate a background copy like this, you can always get rid of it, or depending on what you do to it, you can change how dramatically you do it by changing the opacity of the layer. Okay. All right, so let's say that this person was my client and I am a photographer. So let's say that I took this picture and I thought it would be a good idea to go in and use the healing tool and get rid of all these blemishes, but she never asked me to do that. So if I did that and I sent her this picture, I could have very well insulted her, making her think that I thought that she didn't look nice or she needed to improve. So one thing you can do to make someone feel really confident about themselves or to like the picture is to adjust it, but then change the opacity so that the effects aren't that strong. So I'll show you what I mean. You want to go ahead and click on the healing tool. Now for this, choose the spot healing brush tool, this one. And the difference between the spot healing and the healing brush is that the spot healing does automatic thinking for you. It's kind of like auto-correct on your phone or the auto-correct feature on Microsoft Word. It does the thinking for you, which is great in some areas, but not in others. So we're gonna click the spot healing, but don't use it on this red one by her eyebrow. Use it on the other spots and go ahead and just start to click on top of anywhere you see a blemish or a freckle or something that you think should be changed. Now the spot healing tool does a pretty good job, but for something like this right up here, instead of using the spot healing, I will right click over top here and I will choose the healing brush tool. And the reason being is the healing brush means that I can decide what should be sampled. And if I was to use the spot healing on this, it picks up on the shadows around her eyes and it makes it like a darker area. But if I use the regular healing brush tool, I can sample from and you sample holding down the Alt key. I can sample from like her forehead and use the healing brush tool, and it blends it a lot better with the skin without making it shadowy, okay? So if you've done that, you should have her face look similar to this. Now go ahead and take a look and let me show you the difference. If she was a potential client of mine, or if I was taking her photograph, what I would do instead is I could change this opacity down to say 60-some%. Can you tell that you can still see the acne on her face, but it's just not that dramatic? And so it might be to where she notices that it's still there. She doesn't think that you've really messed with it, but overall she feels better about herself because this was her original picture, and what you've done is just lessen the effects. For the purpose of this tutorial, I want to make it completely gone, so I'm just gonna go all the way up to 100%. All right. All right, so the next thing I want to show you guys is how you would change the overall redness. And if you look, you can tell that she's got a lot of red in this picture. Now, you may not notice this. I'm trained to notice it. Some of you may, but others of you might not. What I want you to do is to go ahead and do a layer right here. If you click on what looks like this Pepsi symbol down here, you can do curves. Click curves. And instead of RGB, I want you to choose red. And what you can do is, if you drag this up, it makes it a lot more red. But if you drag it down, it takes away the redness. And if you notice, it replaces it with a green, because green's the opposite on the color wheel from red. So if I click off this, look at the difference between the before and after, okay? This was the before. This is the after. Can you tell the difference now once you adjust it? This was before, and that's after. You see that the redness has been significantly reduced. All right, guys, go ahead and click on the background copy right here. And I'm going to show you how you would adjust something like the hair. So choose a selection tool. I'm going to use magnetic lasso. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click around her head to choose her hair. I'm doing it kind of fast just because I want to demonstrate, but let you have time to get to it. And if you remember, if you need to add to a selection, you hold down the Shift key. So now that I have this selected, I'm going to switch to regular lasso. And if I want to get rid of, like I got her ear right here and I didn't mean to get her ear, I'm going to hold down the Alt key and it gives me a minus sign. Then I can subtract this out. And I have an area at the top that I need to add to it. So I hold down the Shift key, it gives me a plus sign. I can go in carefully, circle this, and Control 0 will zoom out. I'm gonna add this to it as well, right here. All right, Control 0 zooms out. And now I'm ready to adjust her hair. So here's what you do. Make sure you're on the background copy when you have this selected. Go down to this adjustment layer and you're going to select hue and saturation. If you click colorize, which is right here, you can adjust her hair. I just made her look like an old lady a little bit. You can adjust any of the colors that you want simply by sliding it up. That's kind of a nice color. You can adjust the saturation level of it, and you can adjust the lightness and darkness of it. So that gives you the opportunity to play around with the hair color. I don't want to keep this, so I'm going to get rid of it. If I was going to keep it, I would need to blend this in a little bit better, and I would also probably want to do her eyebrows just so they matched. But I'm not going to keep it, I'm going to get rid of it. You can do the same thing, the same concept with her eyes. Let's choose the quick selection tool for the eyes. And I'm going to zoom in by holding down Control and plus. And the quick selection tool will allow you to select something much faster. Something like an eye is easy. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go down to an adjustment layer symbol at the bottom of your layers palette. Click that. And I'm going to choose hue and saturation. And I'm going to choose colorize. And now I can change the color of her eyes. Ooh, purple's pretty. Maybe I'll stick with purple. And I can choose as light or as dark as I want it to be. I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. And now she's got some pretty cool purple eyes. Okay. I'm also going to I'm going to go back to the background copy, and I'm going to select her lips. So I'm still on the quick selection tool. I'm just going to keep clicking till I get everything selected that I want. And I've got a little outside of the area that I want, so I'm going to go back to my lasso tool. I'm going to hold down the Alt for minus. and I'm going to get rid of the areas I don't want. Okay, and I'm going to hold down Shift to add in a couple areas that I do actually want. Okay, and now I'm going to choose a new adjustment layer again. I'm going to do the hue and saturation again, but this time I'm not going to do colorize because I don't want to add a color. I just want to adjust the saturation of what's already there. So this is her natural lip color, but I'm going to drag the saturation up, and now it gives her a little bit like a lip gloss or just a little bit of a darker shade of her natural color. Okay. So if I hit Control and 0 at the same time, it zooms me out. And now you can see this was the before on her lips. This is the after. This was the before on her eyes. This is the after. So we're just having some fun changing it. Since it's its own layer, you guys can get rid of it if you don't like it, or you can keep it if you want to keep it. All right, so now I want to show you how to lighten under her eyes. In our tutorial with the beach cleanup, we used what was called dodge and burn. And if you remember, I told you that burn makes it darker, like think of a sunburn, and dodge makes things lighter. So we want to like lighten underneath her eyes. Let's choose dodge. We're going to go ahead and zoom in, Control plus to zoom in, and to make sure you're on the background copy layer. You have options. You can choose shadow, midtone, highlights. If you pick shadow, it lightens it slower, and you can adjust your exposure here to be more of an exposure or less of an exposure. So I'm just going to come through, and very slowly you can start to see that it lightens this dark shadowy area under her eyes, which kind of made it look like she hadn't slept in a little bit. All right, so I'm just coming in, I'm just lightening this area. Now look at the difference between what it was before. So this was before, and this is after, okay? Now, if you wanted to add eyeliner to her or to make it look like she was wearing makeup, instead of using the dodge tool, choose the burn tool, which makes it darker. It takes the color, the pixels that are already there, and it makes it darker. So I'm going to Control plus to zoom in, and then here I go. So go ahead and just add in, you can sample the area around it. I'm going to go ahead and just give her a little bit. It almost feel like she has a little bit of eyeliner on or something darker. That one was sloppy. I don't want to do too much. I just want to give her a little boost. All right, if I do Control minus, I can zoom out, and you can see that it looks like she has a little bit of eyeliner on where she didn't before. I don't know that I love this. It doesn't look super natural on her, so I probably wouldn't keep that. If I wanted to get rid of it, I would go to Window and History, go back to my history, and anywhere that I have the burn, I'm going to go all the way back to my last dodge and get rid of that. And the last thing I want to show you is if you wanted to fill in her eyebrows, you could use the brush tool, which is right here. Now, if you click on the brush, you can right click to see your options, or you can go up here. You can choose so many different options. I'm just going to use a pencil, and I want to make sure that it's kind of a smaller pencil. If you click over here, you'd be able to download brushes or different brushes or special effect brushes, but this is good. I'm going to hit the escape key to get this to go away. I'm going to close that over. And what I want to do is sample if you hold down the Alt key, you get the eyedropper tool. I'm going to pick this color, and I can go in and start to fill in her eyebrows a little bit more. If I wanted to shape them up or make them look a little bit more full. All right, so that is it as far as this goes for touch up. Go ahead and try it yourself, see what else you want to do to it, and let me know if you have any questions.